Lani. Welcome back to my channel where I talk a little bit about personal development, productivity, and a little bit of lifestyle content. If that's something you're into, please leave a like and subscribe. Today I'm sharing a little bit of a July recap with you guys, and because honestly it was a little bit of a mess, like a lot of bit of a mess in terms of productivity, and I kind of wanted to share with you guys like the different mindset shifts that I went through to kind of help get myself out of that hole. So basically the first week of July was pretty good. I followed through with like 75% of my goals. The only one that I really didn't even try to follow up with was the reading. But honestly, week 2 of July, everything just kind of went like downhill, like way downhill. Like, I don't know what happened to me, but I just honestly was feeling really emotional about everything. Like, maybe it was the hormones, but girl, I was crying like every single day. Like, I couldn't bring myself to do anything productive. I couldn't bring myself to like do anything but sleep, eat, and watch TV. And like, budget went out the window second week of July because food is my comfort. So I was spending hella money on food. And then honestly, it got even worse because for whatever reason, I decided to weigh myself, which I barely ever do nowadays. And I hit 200 pounds for the first time. So not only was I just feeling emotional for no reason and crying all the time, but I really got in my head about my weight. And like, growing up as like the chubby fat kid in the family, like hitting 200 was like a brand new low for me. And I honestly was not okay. I kind of just kept thinking about how I failed myself, how I wasn't able to do these things I set for myself, and how I let myself get to this point. And it just was really overwhelming. And after sitting there for like a whole week and just like sitting in my emotions, I came to the point where I was able to tell myself, like, it's okay. Like, everything's going to be okay. And so I kind of wanted to share these mindset shifts with you guys in case, who knows, maybe it'll kind of help you get through whatever you're going through right now or something that you may go through in the future. So the first mindset shift that I had was letting go. This came from a book actually called Letting Go by David Hawkins that I read like about a year ago. I honestly didn't finish it because there was kind of a reoccurring theme happening in the book, but it honestly gave me like the biggest mindset shift that I needed in so many things. And a lot of times when I start to spiral out, I come back to this little shift. I wanted to read a couple quotes to you guys about the book because I felt like it was the best way to sum it up versus me trying to like explain it myself, because I'm terrible at explaining things. So here are some of the different quotes from the book. When letting go, ignore all thoughts. Focus on the feeling itself and not on the thoughts. So the biggest thing that I got from this quote itself while reading the book was that a lot of times when we start getting really emotional about different things, we start to let our thoughts kind of spiral out of control, and we make all these narratives in our head that honestly could be completely false, but we psych ourselves out so much about it because we just let these thoughts eat us up, and it turns into this like really toxic like environment for our brain, and we kind of might implode on someone, like our loved ones or our friends, and it ends up in like some big disastrous like occasion that honestly could be all avoided if we just sat down with ourselves, like shut off all the thoughts and let ourselves come to like a conclusion, like, why are we feeling that way? Which leads me to the next quote. Letting go involves being aware of a feeling, letting it come up, staying with it, and letting it run its course without wanting to make it different or do anything about it. It means simply to let the feeling be there and focus on letting out the energy behind it. So instead of wasting energy on like thinking and creating all these false narratives and kind of blowing up on someone, it's best to just kind of sit down with it and kind of let yourself feel those emotions. And if there's a real reason behind those emotions, talk about it. Really just let it go. So here's a little gentle reminder that it's okay to feel, it's okay to have feelings, but don't let those feelings take over you, and don't let them affect everything else that's going on in your life and your relationships. The second mindset shift that I had was that it literally was 1 week out of a whole month. Like, time is relative. Like, it's easy for us, like, when we put these deadlines on goals, that it makes it really overwhelming, like, really quick. Like, oh, like, I have no time to do this. Oh my gosh, I'm running out of time. Like, oh, I can't do it. And it just becomes really overwhelming. So as a physical therapist, I have to make goals for my patients like every single day. And really early on in school, we learn, like, it gets drilled into my brain that we have to make these goals attainable, realistic, and time-based. If you ever heard of SMART goals, basically SMART goals. And literally, like, something I've learned over the past 2 years as a practicing therapist is that no matter how realistic you make these goals, sometimes they just cannot be attained in the time that you've allotted for it. And a lot of times it's because of reasons outside of your own control. So for example, in the therapy world, things that are out of my control is like what a patient does when they go home. Like, do they actually take what I said into account? Do they actually try to do their homework? Or is it just kind of like, they're just living out their normal life and forget what I said in the moment and come back and tell me like, yeah, I did that, when they really didn't. Examples back to like personal goals and like personal things that are out of your control can be like outside factors like inflation, or things like within yourself, like hormonal imbalances, which I mean, at some point it kind of can be controlled, but not really. Those things can take an effect and can affect like our ability to fulfill these goals. And other times we just don't make practical goals as much as we think that they're practical. So while I thought my goals were super doable altogether, even like if I did have that week of like turmoil, like I purposely set certain goals so I could have like a week off. But in reality, like a lot of them weren't like practical altogether. Like I think I had multiple workout goals, and each of them had like a certain amount of like I would do this 2 times a week, 3 times a week, 1 time a week. And when you really think about it, like I just wasn't giving myself time to like do me, and I wasn't realistically like giving myself extra time in general. So what did I do about it? I sat down, I reopened up my goals, which I'll post right here. And I tried to figure out how I can kind of streamline them. Instead of having like all those separate goals, I kind of put it all into one goal and generalize it to just being active 4 times a week. This is definitely a lot more doable than like all the little things that I had in my head, considering that I had just started out doing all these things and really trying to push myself to do it, because it was like I was trying to run like a whole marathon when I can't even run a mile, like I was just being really unrealistic with myself. So I guess my biggest tip here is to just like avoid the overload and start simple. Like stop being extra. Stop it. The next thing in my personal goal, like that I just had to do, I just had to dump reading. Like it just wasn't gonna happen for me. Like as much as I liked reading in the time that I did read, I just don't have the mental time for it, because I honestly prefer binging Netflix shows, like random movies and whatnot, than reading. And that's okay. Like really, that's like my guilty pleasure, and that's my me time. So I am dumping reading, kind of for now, especially since next month I am starting a 2-year course for a certification that'll kind of apply to my physical therapy degree. And that's honestly going to take a decent amount of time out of me as well, in terms of like learning, reading, and studying. So reading for fun is just not going to happen, and that's okay as well. Like, it's just not for me. And that's another thing. Like, if something is just not up to like your personal preference, don't force it on yourself. Like, if you want to try to do it, then you can try to do it. But if it doesn't work out, don't beat yourself up over it. The next like section of goals were my career goals. And honestly, like I was being very ambitious. Like, I don't know who I thought I was when I was writing these goals, but I was very ambitious. So I guess it was because like that first week where I was posting like my first YouTube videos, I thought YouTube was gonna be like super easy. Like, because I wasn't doing any edits, I wasn't really trying too hard. I was just recording, cutting, and then posting just because I wanted to get started. But when I try to actually put more effort into it, like for example, my making my intro video. If you haven't watched that, here's a link. But it literally took so much time out of me. Like, I would come home from work and then I would do one part of the video and then kind of take some me time, work out, whatever, and then that was my day. And then the next day I would do the same thing. So I kind of realized that I split my videos into like 3 different parts: the filming, the scripting if I have to, and then the editing, and then just like the general like run through, just to make sure like I'm happy with the product. So each of these steps kind of happen like on a different day, because if you think about it, I work like 40 plus hours as a physical therapist, and it can be really exhausting. And then I'm trying to do all these things for YouTube. So I really didn't take that into consideration when I was making these goals. But now that I know, I know better. So I kind of dumped most of my other goals in my career section. I focused on my YouTube goals. And then I'm kind of trying to focus on my sticker goals because I really want my shop to go up in August, like hardcore. And I actually finished my first set and I'm super, super like proud of it and really excited for that to launch. So I'm keeping those 2 goals for now. The other goals are basically just kind of like being thrown out the window right now. And, you know, that's okay. I was being ambitious and now I know better. So I guess like the main takeaway that I want you guys to take from this video is that like if you're having like a bad day, bad week, whatever it may be, just take a step back, take a moment to reevaluate what's going on. You know, if you're feeling really emotional, like let yourself sit with those emotions, stop thinking so hard, and prioritize what you must and take some time for yourself. Like sometimes like shifting that mindset of yours is really like the biggest thing that you need to kind of point yourself in the right direction. So that's it for today's video. I hope you guys got something out of it. And I guess I'll see you guys in the next one.